Good morning! This is your host, Toasty Critic, and welcome to the Guide Video Edition. And welcome to the newest in our series, The Single Dad's Guide to Fake News. This is the second of our series of devastatingly ridiculous headlines, cold and twisted from the actual headlines of supposedly real news agencies. Although if you call Us Magazine a news agency, it is debatable. We take our top 10 from the latest headlines and bring them straight to you, twisted in knots. We know you are here for the headlines and not this introduction, so without further ado, the guide brings you the Single Dad's Guide to Fake News, Volume 2. Number 1. New York Attorney General does Donald Trump one better. He believes he can smack a woman across the face without a repercussion. Last week, it was Charlie Rose trying to one-up Mr. Harvey Weinstein as the world's most creepy man. Louis C.K. gave him a run for his money, but I really thought it was planned abuse, and so we took him out of the running for this award. But this week, New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman figured he needed to get in the game. He knew he wouldn't be able to beat Mr. Rose or Mr. Weinstein in overall creepiness, so he figured he would get the runner-up prize, which was Most Creepy Politician in New York. After Donald Trump stated in a secretly recorded interview that he liked to grab women in the private parts, Mr. Schneiderman figured he needed to top that, so he began beating up the women he was sleeping with. According to Mr. Schneiderman, they were all consensual beatings, or something like that. The fact that the women patently denied this did not stop him from claiming they were liars, and then resigning. You choose who you think is the liar. Number 2. California responds to Hawaiian earthquake championship by going, meh. If you recall last week, Hawaii was just announced as the winner of the Great Earthquake Championship. Having over 600 earthquakes in a period of 4 days does tend to give one a solid leg up on other competition. California, the state most often predicted to have the big one without ever actually having a big one since 1906, thought about the championship of Hawaii for a while and then went, meh. It couldn't even get up the strength to have a real earthquake. Well, sort of. Its latest earthquake measured all of 4.5 on the Richter scale. That's barely over half of the 8, which is what is supposed to happen. And if you know anything about earthquakes, then you know that its magnitude's larger. Evidently, California is content with Hawaii being considered the least safest state to live in. Number 3. Oliver Norths NRA slogan, first Iran, then the US, and finally the world. Oliver North was just recently named the head of the NRA. When asked what he was going to do next, he said, "The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world." After such insignificant conquests, Oliver North, the first person thought it was good to arm the Iranian regime before Mr. Kerry put his weapons dealings to shame, now believes he should arm the rest of the US population. Whether or not he feels like he should do this because he armed the Iranian people in the first place, no one can tell. What we can say is you have to hand it to him for his consistency. He believes every person should have a firearm. Instead of universal basic income or universal health care, he wants universal concealed carry permits. Should be thrilling to see what happens next. Ready? Aim. Number 4. Google tells the universe it plans to take over the world. Google, in a move to show it still is the tech giant of the universe after the abysmal failure of automated driving cars, just displayed the latest in innovative technology, set to replace you as a human being. First, the Google Home device will begin making automated phone calls for you. Not only can you call it your salon and book an appointment, but it can negotiate time and other details. Then, there's the new Gmail auto-type feature. It's one thing to have your phone autocorrect a word or two, but it's another thing for them to fill out entire sentences for you based on one word. It's like it's automated fill-in-the-blank response where you're levered trying to complete your sentences. I wonder whether this means their AI will be added to the latest in romantic robots. For all of you adults out there, you understand the euphemism. But this is a PG-13 rated blog, so shh. Whatever the case, Google will soon be replacing your assistant, your driver, and eventually you. Number 5. Donald Trump comes out and tells the world he's the real Donald Trump. So we all know who Donald Trump is at this point, for better or for worse. Whether it means grabbing women where their pant legs meet or calling the Korean dictator Rocket Man, there's no denying that Donald Trump is, in fact, Donald Trump. The fact that Donald Trump says something and it makes news anymore seems to be a bit ludicrous. How can the news media fall down all over themselves because he claims their outlets are fake news and posits they should have their media credentials taken away? I should yell and scream that he wishes to take mine away. But I never had one in the first place. So I can hardly complain about him taking away something I never had, can I? The latest heart palpitations take place on the heels of the media allowing Stormy Daniels' lawyer to suggest that Trump and AT&T are involved in the Russian collusion menace. Somehow, they cannot come out and correct the record from a porn star's lawyer, giving him and the porn star more media time than the 3 hostages coming home from North Korea. Nope, nothing to see here. Russian collusion, red men, some guy named Vlad. Wait, doesn't this sound an awful lot like what Mitt Romney was saying in the 2012 presidential debate when Obama asked whether the 80s were asking for their porn policy back? Number 6. It's Disney versus Comcast, as Jedis face off against dinosaurs with the fate of the whole 21st century at stake. If there were such a thing as Jedis, and dinosaurs still roam the planet, I would really be looking forward to this battle. Can you imagine lightsabers versus velociraptors? What it really means is Rupert Murdoch decided that selling a controlling interest in all of his Fox subsidiaries, Fox News being the glaring exception, was something he wanted to do. And 2 of the biggest corporations on the planet are vying for control over it. With Comcast, parent company of Universal, it would merely add to the large library of films they have control over and increase their shares. With Disney, the fate of the Avengers is at stake. You can check out my review for Infinity War if you want to know what I mean. But seriously, adding Fox to the fold would bring back both the X-Men and Deadpool into the Disney Marvel sphere. Can you imagine Wolverine fighting alongside Black Widow? Or the Hulk taking on Magneto? How about Deadpool and Groot as a super team? Just the thought makes me smile. So while I may believe Disney has their own designs on taking over the world, I'm rooting for them to take over this small part of it anyway. Number 7. At Taco Bell, their employees truly do make a run for the restroom. As a Taco Bell lover and aficionado for all my life, I've always been skeptical of the belief make a run for the restroom was their motto, despite many friends insisting that it was the case. I never seemed to have a problem with their food, and I would never have called it Mexican, even on a good day. And I certainly would not have celebrated Cinco de Mayo at Taco Bell. But finding out one of the employees contracted hepatitis A in West Virginia has made me reconsider my opinion. I know. All the employee needed to do to make sure that they didn't catch it was to make sure they thoroughly washed their hands before handling the contaminated food. Evidently, the employee was infectious for more than 3 weeks at the restaurant before diagnosis. If you visited Taco Bell in West Virginia and started experiencing any of the following symptoms listed at the Mayo Clinic here, please make sure to stop at the restroom and then go to your doctor right away, followed by your lawyer, and then cha-ching. Number 8. Jane Doe accuses John Doe of kidnapping and sexual assault, all in one of Chris Brown's bedrooms. Chris Brown can't catch a break, can he? Poster child of the physical abuse of women even before the Me Too movement, Chris Brown has been in trouble with the law for his run-in with women for as long as I can remember. Okay, maybe not that long, but at least since February 2009 when he thought it was a good idea for his 19-year-old fist to run accidentally into Rihanna's face. This did not end the notorious abuser's career of abuse, as stories have paraded around about him ever since. Now, it would appear he provided the sanctum for some more sexual abuse between a Jane Doe and some unnamed man. I would say you might be shocked about who is representing the woman, but who am I kidding? The I never met a camera I didn't like lawyer Gloria Allred is defending the rights of the abused woman. Whatever the real story behind the night in question, as a result of Miss Allred's involvement, I'm sure we will never get to the bottom of it. Unless, of course, the lady was a Kim Kardashian fan and loves taping herself. Number 9. Hollywood jumped the shark when it decided to create an award show for trailers. After years and years of referring to jumping the shark as the point at which something in a television series turns ridiculous and marks the precipitous decline of a show, Hollywood decided jumping the shark may not be a bad idea after all. With more and more movies which are merely copies of stories already produced, or comic book hero movies that some critics label with the marker, too big to fail, Hollywood has grown desperate to draw attention to itself for some other reason than those films, or the Me Too movement. How did they decide to do this, you ask? By creating an award show for, wait for it, trailers. That's right, Hollywood has decided to create its own award show for trailers. They supposedly pick out the best trailers which moved audiences this past year. This year's nominations include Infinity War, The Black Panther, The Shape of Water, and A Quiet Place. As much as I love 3 of those movies, how can one say those trailers are better than other ones? Often the best trailers are those which make me think a movie is going to be amazing, only to let me down when I actually show up to watch the movie. You know, the great comedies where the only funny moments are those which showed up in the trailers. Whatever their reasons, Hollywood has definitely jumped the shark. What will they think of next? Giant dwarfs making super axes of doom, which help gods but can be stopped by a giant glove with jewels in them? Wait. Oh yeah. And last but definitely not least, number 10. Nathan Fillion's new book, From Ship Captain to Rookie in 5 Easy Lessons, with a role as a disembodied head in between. Okay, maybe it's not quite a book yet, but it should be, don't you think? Nathan Fillion, who shot to fame in the role of Malcolm Reynolds on the quickly defunct hit show Firefly, try imagining how that was possible, has just signed up to star in the new TV show Rookie for ABC. In it, he plays John Nolan, the oldest rookie in the LAPD. Based on a true story, it is a series about a man who faces a midlife crisis and decides to change his life around and start all over again as a police officer. Given the fact that he still plays a disembodied head in the hit Netflix series The Santa Clarita Diet, the guy figured it was nice he could still play a relatively decent-looking rookie cop of 40. And for those women out there, in The Rookie, you might actually get to see more of his body, if you're into that sort of thing. As for the guide, unless you were posting pictures of Monica Bellucci, we could really care less. Thank you for joining us in our journey to fake news, or some facsimile of it. We hope you enjoyed the journey this past week as much as we did, and be sure to subscribe to our vlog and our blog at the links below. You won't want to miss a single fake news post. Until next week, this is your host, Toasty Critic, signing off.